got a package in the mail with a whole bunch of goodies. This is a connecting rod. There's 2 of them in there. At least I think it's a connecting rod. Maybe something else. Maybe it's the piston. Yeah, it's the piston. Okay. And so we got 2 pistons. These are the connecting rods. Okay, that makes more sense. And got a full gasket kit. Right here we have some intake and exhaust valves. So what we have to do is take the engine out. What is going to be the problem here? Well, we need to take out the throttle and choke linkages. I'm going to take off the air intake, and so I don't have to worry about the air housing. There's a whole lot of belts going on down there. I need to take those off. I think the muffler is attached to the body, so I need to remove that, or maybe, yeah, remove the muffler entirely, probably be the best. And then on also need to remove the power for the starter, and when you do that, you're probably going to want to disconnect the ground from the battery as well, so I'm going to do that before, probably the very first thing. In addition, there's 4 bolts on the bottom, 2 on the side, and that little metal plate. I think after we do that, we should be good to remove this. Oh, fuel line. We need to find the fuel line. Oh, it's just right there. Disconnect it from the pump, and then at that point we should be good to go. Then we will it's gonna be a lot of work, but we'll get started. Finally got it out, and as you can tell, it was really dirty. I spent a little time with the screwdriver, kind of went in through all the fins, tried to get a lot of the big stuff off. It's not done yet. I'm going to drain the oil, clean off the table as best as I can, because I don't want to introduce the dirt I took off into the engine if I don't have to. And then I'm going to bring you back. Well, take off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like 10 millimeters. Probably a dipstick, this crank vent tube, filter, maybe not the, yeah, probably the filter, and then hopefully this will just come off. I don't think I have to take this off. I mean, it doesn't look like it, and there's not really much to really do. Probably the easiest way is to tip this over on the side, well, put it on the side of the table, and then crack this loose. Out of, oh, the whole thing is moving. That's not as good. I'll just have to hold it and hopefully just undo it. Yeah, no, that's not going anywhere. Well, might get a little dirty. Be prepared for stuff like this with old machines. Something else, this has a lot of bolts, especially when we start taking the heads off and everything. A good way to kind of keep them in order is to kind of put them back where they were, if you can. So that seems to be doing fairly well. I'll let that drain. I cleaned my pan, with the exception of a little bit of sludge that I don't feel like cleaning, to see if there's any metal pieces in the oil. Looks like we're getting a little squirrely here. Put a rag down there. There we go. Okay, well, let's go ahead and wait for that to finish, and then we'll take the side off. I'm gonna have to take off the heads anyway, and I kind of want to do them now. That way I can clean the table before I open the engine up entirely. So going to take the heads off. That's going to require take off this cover. Looks like there's a couple bolts, a couple places. And then probably this shield as well, valve cover. And then there's usually a variety of other bolts that's going to hold it on. Probably this plate is going to have to come off. And yeah, so they look like they're all 10 millimeters. I'm just going to take off all those, just look for them, find them, take it off, put everything to the side. I'm going to put the bolts back into their holes when they're done. That way I can kind of keep track of them. And then we will take a look at the head. Actually, I'm going to do the one that's bad first. I'm also happy to report that there's no metal chunks that I can find in there, and there's not like a rainbow swirl of metal as well. So the oil, while old, doesn't look horrible, so that's at least a bonus so far. When taking off this plate, as you can tell, there's quite a few holes and linkages, and you know, you don't exactly know where to put everything. I highly suggest you take a picture, that way you can put it back where it was. I mean, look at the... So we're going to want to remember to put it into the last one, and then the spring is in the center, and the one closest to us has nothing, but we're not going to remember that, especially if it takes like a day or two to do this. So I had to take off the big pulley to get the cover off. Not too surprising. I was hoping I didn't have to, because it wasn't necessarily easy, but I got it done. Now I'm going to take off the intake and the carb, that way we can take off the covers. More likely than not, we're going to rip the gasket for one or both. So whenever you take off these intakes, you want to have a gasket prepared. You can use RTV, but I wouldn't. These engines I've ran across a lot that have vacuum leaks due to that reason. There we go. What is this connected to? Looks like a harness down there. Just disconnect that. There should be another one on the other one, which there is. And that is our bad cylinder. Our other one came off in pretty good one chunk. So, oh, here it is. That one came off just fine, other side. But we do have new ones. I'm not going to say that's our problem, because obviously it's not. But a intake leak causing a overheating with a dirty engine with all the dirt in it. You know, overheating is an important thing. So I'm going to keep on going. I think I'm going to take off the shields, and we'll take off the heads, and we'll be looking at the piston. I have a 1/2 inch on here. If this works, I'll be surprised. Yeah, that's what I thought. Not even try the other one. What I am going to do, though, I need like a spring compressor for that one. I want to take off these push rods, but I'm going to get a breaker bar and a 1/2 inch and break those free. Let's see if Big Daddy can do it. Ooh, with no problem. Very good. Okay, I think we're good. Got them all done. I had to remove the rocker arms in order for my impact to reach. Let's see what we have here. That is something else. Well, the head looks good. that is. Looks like shop towel. There's like dirt in there. That's not very encouraging at all. Well, it's probably carbon, to be honest. I don't think it's dirt, but it definitely has a consistency of something I don't want in there. But I do not see any scoring. It doesn't mean what's already in there isn't scored. So I think we are going to do this. I'm going to take this mallet handle. You know what? I don't know what exactly is going on in there, so I'm not going to. I'm going to clean up the table, and then we're going to take the side off, and we'll do a little more investigation. Because the other side's fine, so I'm not going to be too concerned about that side. I have a feeling someone might have been in here already. I don't think that's normal. It could be. I don't know. When we look at the gaskets that come with it, we'll double check, but it kind of looks like RTV. Squished out, and there's nothing right here or over here that I can tell. So someone might have been in here and just thought it was a lost cause. After prying and taking out all the bolts, I believe we are at the point where it should be coming off. Uh-oh. Let's get a towel. I didn't really notice it when I was lifting it up on the table, mainly because it was super heavy. But looks like we have chunks. It's not good. I did hear a rattle. Uh-oh. Don't go back on. There we go. There is some carnage in there. Look at that. Well, the governor gear has a small piece taken out of it. I think that's a governor. No, that's the oil pump. I'll put this down. Look at that. Connecting rod. The completely mangled bolt. Oh, part of the oil pump. Actually, it doesn't look bad. Might be able to salvage that. Also a part of the oil pump. Might be able to bend that back too. Connecting rod. This is a bearing. Well, that's not good. Is there a bearing? I don't think there is. I'll have to look. I don't think it's a bearing in the front. I'll have to do a little investigation. So let me go ahead and take some stuff out and see what we have in here. So So that's what we came up with. And I did a little thinking, and I don't think that's a bearing or part of a bearing. I think that's the waffle ring for the oiler on the piston. And I found other remnants of ring as well. So that piston is toast. Like, it's pretty bad. Now, I don't feel any gashes. My main concern is on this gear, there's a little bit of a tooth taken out, as well as the oiler. I have to figure out how it goes in there, but either way, that needs to be rectified. At the very least, needs to be deburred. I need to take off the clutch, or not the clutch, the flywheel. I'm not going to show that, just a couple bolts, pops it off, done, you're finished. And then after that, I'm going to, I already took out the cam, which is over there. The cam itself seems fine. The other issue that I'm seeing, I don't think you can tell, but the crank kind of feels like it has, I don't know if it's scarring or a buildup of aluminum on, well, just like the transfer of aluminum when it was stopping and getting overheated. I don't know exactly what caused this. I mean, there's really nothing that I can see that I'm just saying, aha, you know, which is concerning, because I don't know what would have caused such a dramatic release of everything. My only thing is maybe the oil pump fell apart, wasn't getting enough oil, dirt was getting in there, getting overheated, eventually got super hot one day, seized up, snagged, and everything else. There is also some damage on the connecting rod of the other piston. It's a little marred. It's really hard to show in there. It's dark and it's hard to see anyway, but I'll show it when I take it out. That I don't care about because I have two. What I'm going to do now, it's a little bit late, so I think I'm going to call this part one of figuring out if this is even worth rebuilding. I hope so, because I have the parts. But I'm going to go and take that off, and then I'm going to go over to Home Depot or maybe some other store and buy some acid. Usually you can, is it muriatic? I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. There's a special type of acid that only eats like aluminum, and that will help with the crank situation, hopefully. And if not, then we'll have to sand it down and get it nice and smooth. Now, I want to preface this, I want to say this real quick. This is not the way you should be doing this. The only reason why I'm doing this, I told the guy we probably just need to scrap the engine. He said no, get the parts. I called him and told him about what I found, and I looked up the crank. This is it's not, I don't want to say a very special crank, but it's a different style of crank. This particular crank, I believe, was somewhere in the neighborhood of $400. That's a lot. I told him $300 for the parts, $400 for the crank, and I don't know if it will be 100% to begin with. He said, just worry about the parts. He asked me if there's anything I could do. I told him exactly what I was going to be doing, and I told him it's kind of sketchy because those tolerances are usually pretty close, but if it is just aluminum and it's not really scraped, then we should be fine, potentially. But if it is, and I also told him about the cylinder wall and the piston and all kinds of nasties about this engine, he said, you know what, put them in, do the best you can. If anything happens, it's not your fault. Okay. Something else that is kind of concerning is with this oil pump, there's a whole lot of metal pieces going on in there. Maybe one of the metal pieces got inside of the oil pump. I don't know. wouldn't surprise me. So we'll have to take a look at that. So this is my conclusion. Am I going to rebuild this? Yes. Yes, I am. Should I be rebuilding it? No, I should not. I think, in my personal opinion, this amount of carnage is a little bit much for my liking. But considering the situation and the owner is fully aware and is okay with me doing so, I don't really have a whole lot more. There's no reason not to, I suppose. So we're going to do the best we can, get it fixed, taken care of, and hopefully we'll be good to go here shortly. I need to go to the store, get some acid. I'll bring you back for part 2 for the rebuild of the engine. This is the tear down. That was tore down. And just kind of like the diagnostic of the engine. I'm going to look at it a little bit more, see if I find anything, but so far I'm seeing 2 main concerns. Main concern is the crank. And well, that's really my main concern, is just the crank. And the other one and other parts are kind of minimal. If the block is damaged too, that would have just condemned it, but I'm not feeling anything, so that's good. So my main concern is that, the crank. Second concern is the oil pump, figuring out what's going on with that, and then we'll take it from there. But that's the end of this. If you like what you see, keep watching. Definitely watch out for part 2 of this. This should be interesting, and we'll hopefully get this running here shortly. Yeah, well, have a good night. Definitely subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video. See you later. You know what? I just had thought about something. What if the oil pump was going out? Why? You know what? Never mind. I'm going to leave that to my own thought. I'm going to do a little research on it. Have a good night. Subscribe. See you tomorrow.